All right, let's try it again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Coach's Corner, where we help people change their relationship with food and fitness. I'm Coach Lyndon.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Coach Debbie.
Hey, and this is Coach's Corner.
It is.
So, usually I have some type of topic to discuss. We've been running that pretty good. It's been working pretty good. Apparently, people like it. All right, so that's good. We just came back from LT, and we haven't discussed it. Like, we haven't discussed how we felt about it, any of the stuff involved, because I think it leads into the bigger conversation. So I'd like to connect the two things. Again, going out of town, the power of the reset is what I discussed with Ashley. So here, I think we should talk about, let's say, difficulty and relationships. Yes, because I feel like relationships are being horribly tested in this new season. And it could be good, it could be bad. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to say what I'm seeing. So why don't we talk? Again, you can incorporate some stuff about what you guys thought about the vacation.
There's so much to talk about, of course.
Yeah, but let's start with the mental stuff first. Relationships, right? Relationships. Let's start with your own experience with relationships in this season, and then explain how it either benefits you or hurts you.
All right. Well, that's a trick question because
It's only benefit.
I said or.
if you know, you know.
I said or.
It's an
It should-
and.
you know what? I'm
It's
gonna
an
make it
and.
and. I'm gonna make
it's
it
an
and.
and because they're two sides of the same coin. If you know, you know. But as far as relationship goes, I feel like in this past season or this season that I'm in, it has a lot to do with you, which then extends to a lot to do with everyone else. But mostly, before it had to do with you, it had to do with me. It started with me, right? So this season really feels like focusing on myself I know it's not, but I'm gonna say it like it is, for the first time in my life. And the only reason I know it's not is because obviously it can't be, but the reason I say that it feels that way is because it's very intentional, and that's different. That's mad different from me.
It's different or you're different?
It's different.
I think it might
I'm
be.
the same.
Oh, are you?
I think what I'm doing.
I think we would both call bullshit on that one. But
I think what I'm doing.
Let's let it roll. Amy's like, I don't want to get involved, but at the same time,
All right, this is how I feel. This is how I feel in my own bones. I feel like everything that I'm doing, my neural pathways, and the way that I'm navigating is different, but I'm the same. I don't know if he got anything to say. I'm gonna keep going.
I do. I have something to say.
All right.
Wouldn't that be different?
The core. I don't.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be different.
Yes.
That's
Sure.
different.
The core of me feels the same.
I'm still the same person, but I'm moving completely different,
Facts.
which is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different than how I've been moving.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it's cool. It's cool to know who you are, but like when people are talking about it, like ask other people what they see. It's a great way to know what's happening.
That's funny, huh? Yeah, that's hilarious.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I
If
just
you
said.
want to know who you are, ask other people what they see.
I literally just said that. What, yesterday? 2 days ago?
Oh,
Was it
that is hilarious.
I said that exact same thing. Well, in the context of you and I said, a lot of my change came through you because you are my mirror. So the way that you view me puts the kibosh on the past lens that I was looking at myself through, which is like hurt Debbie being like, oh yeah, people have told me that I'm dumb, you know, or they've questioned if I am dumb, and I took it internally as I must be, you know, because I couldn't do a thing. But then I've got someone I say I care about and love telling me, nah, you're not dumb, you're smart, and here's how. And then I look at everyone else in my life and they say, they parrot that back. And if I say I'm still dumb, I think that's the dumb move. It's like, you're in the present moment, you may have been dumb, who cares? The present moment dictates that the people around you see you a certain way, which means it must be. If it smells like shit and it tastes like shit
Why are we tasting it?
and it looks like shit, then it must be shit. Oh yeah, that's shit.
Definitely do.
That's the shit.
do. I don't know why it don't. It do.
You gotta use your 5 senses, all right? You gotta use your 5 senses.
But I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say for there's a couple different things there, right? But let's try to keep it like short. I would say a lot of how we view ourselves is great, but really how it plays for others is different. Also, it's why I don't like to use terms like stupid, dumb, right? Because most of the time it's you know or you don't know, and then you're acting on that, right? So if you don't know, then you're unaware, right?
Not stupid.
You're not stupid.
Right.
You just don't. You're not aware of this, right? Or the other one is now. This is where I say it gets a little complicated. Let's say you do know and you still make the uninformed decision, then you're foolish, right? Because you know better, but you refuse to do better, right? So to me, that's that. If I won't do better, and I know I can, I'm looking at the path and can see how it's done, and I choose not to, you're being a fool.
Well, you want to know what? That's what I am in this season.
A fool?
A fool, for sure.
Okay.
And I don't, like, I'm realizing right now, like recently, like yesterday, how much stuff I've done, but how much as I'm doing this stuff, I'm avoiding this stuff. And when I really take a look at this stuff, I think this stuff is more transformative in this next season than trying to focus on the stuff I'm already doing. You know? So like there's this growth period where I wasn't doing this stuff before. Now I'm doing it consistently. And now I should not focus on it because it is a snowball going down a hill. You know, like it has momentum. So now I'm shifting focus to the things that have been there the whole time that I was avoiding, and I was like, I'll just do this stuff because it's easy, you know? So I do know this stuff is transformative. I'm just also, I know that's the most, it'll be the most frustrating. I did a tarot reading the other day and it was like, frustration is in your future. And I was like, all right. But I think that's really where it's coming from is like, this stuff will be very frustrating just to work through and it'll be time consuming. And it'll also transform my life to where it's supposed to be.
You're doing a lot of growth things. Like, you called it the cave this morning, right? And I suggest you look that story up so you can really understand the gravity of that, right? Like, it's one thing to know what I've told you. It's another to like read it for yourself, right? And the cave, these were some of the most powerful warriors to ever be produced. They don't have a lot of names, right? There's not a lot of things. Like if you go into our society right now, the most badass people you will ever hear of are not the most badass people. The most badass people are the people you don't hear about, right? The ranger who can look at a map and go from here all the way to Florida and stay off grid the entire time. That's badass, right? Like that's something that most people would never even have the ability to think about doing. It's not even on their radar, right? It's different when you are different. So outside of societal norms is truly the extraordinary stuff, right? So the cave is good for that because it created those type of men, those type of people in general, but specifically those type of men were created in the cave.
And was it because they were in a cave and not in society?
It was.
That they were able to hone something different?
It's a catch-22. The time in the cave is the thing that separated them from the rest. What they consumed while they were in the cave made them separate from the rest, right? And then what they were doing in the cave, constantly pitting themselves against one another, made them different from the rest, right? If I'm getting better and you're getting better, right? Like, why do you think sometimes I just randomly will hop in to show like how it can be done, right? It's not for me to show off how amazing I am. It's short for me to show you how high the bar is, right? Now, again, to someone who doesn't know, they'll look at them together, but they're not. You understand what I'm saying? They can and should be very separate, in my opinion. Like, me showing who I am isn't me bragging. It's just me showing. I'll make jokes that are like things like we're working together. So I was like, yeah, man, what's the name did that with the 60? And I'll just walk off, right? Like, and most people are like, all right, whatever. And then you try it, right? You know, it's just like you were like bottoms up to 60 today. Again, it's, I'll try it, right? Who knows what's gonna happen? And because I'm willing to try it, that becomes the extension of testing my own capability, AKA what the cave is for. Okay, so I think the cave we're creating includes both men and women, but the original cave was a man thing, right? So when it's time to go to war, that's why part of the time I like to train by myself. It's like James is figuring it out right now. He's figuring out like I'm kind of different and intense when I train by myself, right? And he spoke on it twice already. What you're experiencing is that you're thinking the physicality, you're thinking your relationship with Amy, but
Relationship with
I
self.
suggest you ask the community what they see about you, and then ask them what they saw like a year ago, because you're stepping into something different for sure. And I'm not saying that Amy didn't help you do that, but you realize the work was yours as well, right?
Yeah.
It's very important that you don't use just one mirror to gauge who you are, right? Because that is an affirmation to the thing that you are. But if you really want to affirm what's being put out there, you got to talk to more than one person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's that. I would say ask people straight up. Like, what do you know when you see me? Am I a consistent kind of guy? Like, you'll hear me say stuff like that. Well, I'm a pretty nice guy, and I'll wait for people's response. It's the checking. Am I doing things? See, I'm not a good guy, or I'm not a nice guy. I'm a good guy. Excuse me, I said it backwards. I'm a good guy, not a nice guy. I'm not nice about everything I say. I'm not trying to make you feel better with everything I say, but I'm damn sure working to help you be better with everything that I say. And that makes me a good guy, not a nice guy, right? And I think most people would co-sign that in my life. Only Linda could be a whole asshole, but you know he's telling you what he thinks is for your benefit. You know what he's saying is what he sees as the truth, right? Whether you view it as the entire truth or not, that's up to you. But you can definitely say that I have your best intentions at heart with the things I share, right? So, other people. Amy.
Yo. Yeah, relationships this season. It's interesting because I'm being tested, and that test involves me using the relationships that I have around me. So the difficulty I'm finding in this season is like actually trusting and leaning and using the people, not in a bad way, right? Like, obviously I'm not using them at all in certain instances. So using the support that I have and being authentic. What's that?
I was gonna say letting other people be there for you.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm being tested right now, is how do I utilize the things that I asked for that showed up around me now. Because the creation of the circle that I have is pretty intentional and is something that I walked towards, something that I like manifested. So if I asked for all those things and I want honest and authentic connection, then I have to be the one to like show up with that. If I'm asking for it, I also have to get it back.
Well, it's funny to me, right? I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing. I wish I could remember, but I think me and you talked about this. I said something. It was someone who I'm near and dear to. So it could be y'all. It could be M. I know it ain't Ash because we were talking about different things recently. But it's one of those. I heard it said that you're not really friends with someone, or you're not going to have close relationship with someone until you ask that you let them help you. Right? So like you can be somewhat knowing each other, but you can't be super close until you let them help you. And you may not even need help, right? Like sometimes it's like, I don't need help. But again, allowing me to help you is big. Now, when you do need help and you ask, you change your entire relationship, right? Because now you've relied on another person. There's a lot of fear there. I understand that, so I get that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of those things where you have to be vulnerable. I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna remove the armor, and you could hurt me. I'm still gonna trust you.
Yeah.
So many people don't do that.
Yeah, it's
so many people.
I think it's like wrapped up in a self-worth thing
Fair for you.
for me.
Okay.
Yes,
'Cause
for me.
For me, it's just a trust thing. I don't trust motherfuckers.
Yeah, like, and I don't trust. That is
That's
something
all
that
right.
I'm coming up against is like my inability to like truly lean in, right? To truly like free fall, if you will, right? Like be like, yeah, I understand that I could get hurt at any time, but I also understand that like to deepen connection, I have to do that. Like I have to be willing to trust, and I have to be willing to be hurt. But I think a lot of that, like once I dig into it, is like, oh, why don't I want to, you know, lean on people? Why don't I want to extend trust? I think it just comes from a wound. And that wound is really wrapped up in my self-worth and what I think that I'm worthy of, and being willing to test those things and being okay if like that somebody fails the test. Like I can walk away, right? Like I can be okay with those things. And I think what it has been is that I would just rather not test it. So I shy away from that. Right?
It's
like,
funny because I was listening to you and I just realized we mentioned two interchangeable things. I look at it like I don't trust. You looked at it like you have fear. And ironically, tandem. Right? The fear of being let down along what creates the distrust. Right? So yeah, fair. It's very fair. Well said. Damn.
Testing things. I think that's what it feels like for me. Is like it starts to feel like play when you get used to the experimentation of like your life that you don't want to like crash and burn. You know, it's like I built this thing up and it's not giving me exactly what I want. I do want it to change, but I don't want to like start from scratch. You know, I don't want all my relationships to be gone. I don't want to be lonely, whatever it is. That a lot of that fear stops you from like saying the hard thing to someone or asking them for something that you think is too big to ask for. You know, like what if they are like, yo, that's too much, the fuck, and they leave. You know, it sounds a little irrational when I say it like that, because it is. You know, like no one's gonna say that, but that's what you believe in your trauma, you know, in your wound, is that you might lose this person, or you know, it might just go sour. But the pushing past the fear looks like testing those things. And the people who stick around when you're headed towards that authenticity of like, yo, I need help. People who aren't willing to help, like, do you really want them around?
Well, and I like that this was said to me a while ago. If you have been intentional and you have done things in a way to where your life is set up in a way that you actually do like, there won't be anyone around you can't trust. The things that you've created, the things that you've done, they've set up so the people around you are trustworthy people, or they're people that you could rely on, or they're people that would respond the way you'd like them to respond, because you've learned your vetting process for the people who are close to you. See, most people don't know their vetting process, right? You have no idea who you are, what you're doing, what it looks like to other people. And that's why I said, like when I said, hey, make sure you have other mirrors around, like do that, because now I don't see just how I see me, I see how you see me. And if I can make an adjustment, I now have an opportunity to do so. You understand what I'm saying? It changes the game on a couple different levels if you look at it the right way. And again, once your processes are solid, it's real hard for nonsense to be part of your circles. You just have to trust yourself then, which is the fear thing. Fair. So I would say, I just echo what both of you said. I knew a hard time was coming up. I'm about to have a whole another child. So like most people I've talked to are like, it's like real fear-based talking, right? And if you notice, I've had so much stuff happen and I'm just like, cool, right? I'm just like, just keep going. And it's not a bravado. It's from a place of like, okay, this is a trial to get to the next thing.
Faith.
Okay, I understand. This is faith. Yes, I'm moving in faith. I have no idea where half of this stuff is going. But it's funny how, as I don't know what's happening, I'm being required to give more. If you allow what's going to happen, everything that's happening is to build your capacity for who you're supposed to be, right? How you respond to it is how it builds you. Plain and simple, right? So for me, this is all back to back, makes sense. I don't have any like, I don't know why I would do that. It's literally, no, it makes sense to me. Even like we were talking about doing yoga, I was like, yep, makes sense, right? Just no questions about it. I was like, just got to figure out how to put it in there. I haven't really said no to there's a reason why I don't say no to my circle. You're here for a reason. Fair. So there's a lot of trust there. There has to be a lot of trust there. But again, if your vetting process is good, then there's no reason not to trust those who are close. And if you really think about it, they've probably already shown up for you before, right? If they've already shown up, what reason is there not to trust them? You get what I'm saying? That's important, right? So yeah, solid stuff. I would say let's talk. Physical has been interesting. Everyone's sore, huh? Let's talk physical.
Physical relationships?
Yeah.
I was just talking with Carol about, I think that goes back to relationship with self, but it feels very like, I've said this before on another podcast, like your body is your pet or your feral beast at first that you're there to train into being your pet. And I think that is what I'm pushing in my message when I've been training lately. Like the reason we're here is to break down the body, to build it back up. But the breakdown is going to be hard, and the breakdown needs to be consistent to see the change. And I just see people coming in here phoning it in, and I'm just like, hey, yo, at base level, I'm like, get your money's worth. Like, for real, like, you're not paying all this money to come in here and putz around, Like, while you're here trying to make the most of it, it doesn't mean that everyone has to be working at a certain level or we're looking for that. We're just looking for the mental shift over time. And that happens faster when you push yourself and test your mental capacity. Because I said this to Carol, I said, the reason we have nerve endings is so that we can experience pain and pleasure. And the more that you don't shy away from your relationship with either one, the more you realize they're the same. And it's really your brain that interprets it. So if you can control your brain, this work becomes a lot more beneficial. I won't say it's easier, but it's you have more resolve. It doesn't matter that you're in pain. It matters that you do the work consistently. So I've been spreading that message of change your relationship with pain if you're running away from it, or uncomfortability if you're running away from it. Because once you get close with uncomfortability and you choose your own uncomfortability intentionally, you're gonna feel better mentally.
Your response is different, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna feel better mentally because your mental controls your body and also your emotions. It controls where your emotions go. So you have a negative feeling and you go, but this negative feeling, on the other side of it will give you what you want. So you kind of have to go and push through it, Yeah. And it's,
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, I think there's physical discomfort, right? I think there's people who are maybe more used to pushing through physical discomfort, and then people that are like absolutely not interested in any of that. But I do think because it is so attached to the mental there, that's where some big change can come. I mean, we hold trauma in our body, right? So if you've got some really locked up places, some painful places, we were talking about haunted hips this morning, right? So that type of there is a point where I do kind of have to push physically through. If I want my hips to open, and I'm locked up and they're maybe full of trauma because I'm not releasing that stuff, I'm not working through my mental discomfort, like that hand in hand there, because I saw big changes in my body when I pushed through those spaces where the physical discomfort met the mental discomfort, right? And I, you know, and then seeing like, oh, I was in frog and yoga the other night and I just like dropped 2 inches, you know, because like I had finally like, I had been in that position, I had been uncomfortable in it, and then my body said,
it was like, oh.
It released.
Yep. We can stay here.
Yeah, so, you know, I think there is, for me personally, I think it's easier for me to maybe push into physical discomfort than maybe like emotional discomfort and
Fair. Well, you do.
mental, you know,
Yeah,
but they are
do.
tied. And I have seen, you know, I think there is something to, if you want change, it's probably going to feel shitty.
Yo, fact.
Like at some point, right? I did this, when I did this exercise, when I walked on hot coals, we did this exercise to break an arrow in this part of your neck, a rounded tip. And that was the message there, is that like, you have to push through some discomfort and some fear to see change, to make change.
And to feel pleasure.
And to feel pleasure.
To feel that true pleasure. I mean,
Right.
like the non-fleeting pleasure, the lasting.
Well, it's all deep versus shallow, right? Like,
Yeah.
You can shallow do things all day, and it'll feel great for the moment,
Right.
but it's not going to feel great in the long run, right? Like that's the whole thing. So, yeah, discomfort is a name of the game, 100%. I've been doing this for over a decade now, right? So like the stories that I have from watching, like I can tell you how hard a person pushes just up here by how they look if I've seen them from one space to another, right?
Yeah.
Now I can't say just in general because some people just look great,
Yeah.
right? But I can tell, like if I looked at old video the other day and I was like, you were so much smaller in that video, right? Like literally physically smaller, right? And I remember the fail every day mentality you were trying to adopt, right? And I remember we were having a conversation, and I should have brought this up when Kate was asking, but I was like, you have to be the change you want to see in the room. So if I see people dragging ass, you will watch me hop in and literally change the atmosphere.
Turn up.
I'll be like, you're not fucking doing that in my space. And it doesn't matter what time frame, what group it is, I will make the group go harder than they thought possible, right? And it's not because I'm just this individual who has this enigmatic gift to make people go harder. No, I've had a coach who showed me the same thing. He was like, hey, you're always complaining about what other people are doing, but why don't you be the person to do it better, right? And that is where you start to run into the mental anguish, right? Like, I can't do that, it hurts too much, it's painful, right? You do run into that phrasing in your mind in like a second. And why I did like a half a year of squats every single time is because there's something about like doing it, barely making it, and then doing it again. Like there's something there that most people will call you insane
That's the
for
edge.
doing. Right, agreed.
You're riding the edge.
Agreed. So like, and again, I'm just giving this messaging because we're talking about it. So the last 2 days of the trip, I went to the Y, I worked out, right? And I was by myself, right? And I remember
You went without me.
I did. I went solo. had to fucking do the mission, man. So, like, I was squatting. I was doing box squats, right? And like these like first everyone's just working out. It's like kind of boring. I don't care. I got headphones in. I'm bopping in the corner. I'm just getting to it, right? And as soon as I started jumping, people started like kind of stopping, right? They want to know what you're doing. But what really made the room stop, which was hilarious to me, was when I squatted 545. Okay, so if you don't know, that's 6 plates on each side. Okay, it's a lot of fucking weight, right? And the dude watched me where my body like kind of buckled because I wasn't ready the second time, and I was like, and I went back down and did it again. And when I came out, I like threw it to the rack. I was like, oh my fucking God. And the guy comes across and he's just like, you're fucking crazy, and I love it. Right? And he just starts talking to me, and like, then some kids come over and they want to kind of know, do you train around here? Do you have, like, what do you do? Like, da, 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 da. And it's not how strong I am here. It's how strong I am here that they're really like excited about. So I learned that when you ignite the fire, it has very little to do with how amazing you are at doing it. It has everything to do with the effort you put into the amazing, that looks amazing to other people, right? I don't always have to succeed. I just need to try, right? So I learned that in that period of time. I was like, oh man, I'm really bad at this type of squat. I started doing it every single day. And that is where a lot of the change came from. Again, it's like watching me. Again, I'm still a big dude, even though they say functional training doesn't make you big. I would disagree, right? But a lot of people are throwing around very lightweight, not challenging themselves. Everyone sitting here is a testament to how functional training can literally help you pack on muscle and be stronger in general. But again, talk to the average person, doesn't work. Right? So we are creating a new standard for so many people by just simply training. Now again, the question becomes, what are you training for? I'm always training for life. I have to hold LJ, drag something in, have a backpack on, grab something else, right? Windmills sound real good when I got to keep shifting my weight. Like that's, again, there's these things you can do to literally prepare for the life you want to have or you do have. Right, and I could go into detail. You know, I love training, but the whole thing is that training is way more mental. Even getting here is mental. So when someone stops showing up, I know they're dealing with some stuff, right? And that's where I start to reach out. Hey, what's going on with you? What's up? Are you okay? Just checking on you, right? But a lot of it has to do with the fact that the mental chatter, because when the seasons were easy, you didn't push yourself. You didn't try to be better every day. Maybe there were some days you just felt like I don't have it today. Those are the best days to work to get better. The days you don't have it means that the sources that were working for you before aren't working for you. So now you got to find it somewhere else, right? I've cried in workouts. I've laughed in workouts. I've yelled in workouts, right? Like, it's something different when you start to tap into it. And again, I could go for a very long time on just this aspect alone. But I promise most people aren't training hard enough to facilitate the type of change they want. They're not pushing themselves. So when you called it lackadaisical, I was like 100%. And it came up twice today.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm never finishing a workout. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know why. And then immediately afterwards, they tell you why. Boom. Got it, right? You get what I'm saying? You're aware enough, you know, right? And then will you match the effort? Again, they were using us before to pull on it. Now it's time for them to do it. And that's what you spoke to. I don't even know if you noticed that's what you spoke to. They now need to be the change. Yep. Yep. That person has to be the change. Again, you're a leader. You're doing all these things. You are in a position where you have to be the change. It's time to suck it up, buttercup, and get it done, right? It's no longer, you can't depend on someone else now. You are the person they depend on. You got to get it together now, because that's who you are, right? You chose that position, whether it was given to you or you still chose it, right?
And I think I gotta speak on that a little more, because I think that's what's happening is I've started what feels like surrender part of it, where once you start listening to the universe or source or whatever, you start to realize that your life is already set up or it's close to set up to what you want. You know, it's in these ways, it's like just a little off, and that's what's bringing up the negative emotion. It's like, all right, yeah, I don't want to be a leader. Yeah, but you're a leader in this, and this position. It's like, all right, if I'm honest, I'm scared to be a leader because of this old thing, and it's put me in a leadership position in places where I don't want to be a leader.
Or you weren't ready.
Or I wasn't ready. Yeah, whatever it is. So now it's not that you're not a leader, you've always been. People have been telling you that from the past. Now it's time to step into it intentionally in the places where you can succeed. And that's kind of how it feels across the board. Like you just said, what are you training for? And you said you're training for life. And immediately the message was like, we're training the will to live. We're training up your will to live. And there's a lot of people who like in a depressive state, they're like, my will to live is zilch, you know? or like you wake up and you just feel like you don't want to do life anymore. You want to quit everything you're doing and go and disappear on an island somewhere, and like that is you feeling your will to live is low. And coming here, like that's all we're training up, is like we're training for life stuff so that you can move through life more gracefully. You can have more grace with yourself when you do, and everything doesn't feel hard and like too heavy. Like we lift heavy shit so that life doesn't feel too heavy. And I think training up your will to live, that's will to live sounds like a dire, like urgent statement, I think, to a lot of people.
It is.
And it is. So I think that's what I'm saying when you come in here is like you should be training like you're training up your will to live. Like if you are going to continue to live, you want to have the will to live the way that you want. And a lot of people I see are just like have committed to themselves that this is how it is until they die. And that's wrong. Yeah. It's just not true.
Yeah, I don't even think we're gonna make it a spit. We're kind of talking about spiritual already, but like there's yeah, I would say like some people know my story about that stuff, like my daughter being helping my will to live and everything else. Like when I told people like, oh yeah, I thought about it. Like people came in and were like, yo, never would have thought that was you. I'm like, yeah. It doesn't mean I was acting on it, but you think that it didn't cross my mind? I think every person
that's most people
has had that thought in some way, shape, or form. Every single person. I don't think there's a person who hasn't. Again, the degree, the severity, the actions behind it, they're different. But when it comes to feeling like the world would be better without you, I think that's pretty human to even consider, right? Like, I don't think it's wrong to consider that or to think about that, because sometimes you do feel low, right? And again, I realized, and this is why I shared that lesson with you, that there was my own internal messaging and then there was the external messaging I was receiving. And again, if both do exist, then what am I listening to? So my daughter changed my internal compass. She like I was trying to make the shift for a long time and it just wasn't sticking. And then I shattered my wrist and felt literally useless. I couldn't make enough money. There wasn't things happening the way I wanted to. Everything that I had done up to that point was taken away from me, which is why I was just sitting there playing a game and hoping to like kind of numb how I felt. I was drinking a lot. I was literally spending hours playing games because I just didn't want to deal with what I was experiencing. I wasn't trying to be better except for the bare minimum of the thing. So, again, I'm only telling this story for context. My daughter came in the room one of the days where I was gaming. I can literally tell you what room, what I was doing, what was happening, because it was significant to my story. And she came in and she's like, "Hey, Dad, pick me up." And I was like, "Baby, I can't pick you up. Small, shouldn't even be a big deal." I'm like, "Baby, I can't pick you up." Again, I've said it 100 times. It's fine, right? But she's persistent this time. "Dad, why can't you pick me up? I just want you to pick me up." She just wants to be held by me, right? And I'm sitting there, and I know I'm getting frustrated, right? But I'm doing my best not to say anything. So then she says one more time, and I snap. And I'm like, "Yo, stop asking me. I can't pick you up. Get out of my face," right? Now, most people said I wasn't that bad, but my daughter was 3. I watched her face just sink. Like, it probably was one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. And I've had some bad feelings. I've had some things happen. That was one of those moments where I was like, I might have just changed this little girl's entire life, right? And I remember she ran out the room, tears in her eyes. She didn't cry. She wasn't big and audible. But then she went to the other room and she just kept asking her mom, "Why can't Daddy pick me up? Why won't Daddy hold me? I just want Daddy to hold me." I'm having to hear this, right? I'm in the other room, literally a room across. And I'm in tears, frustrated with myself. That's not the turning point. That's the catalyst for the turning point, right? So then I said, I had to face myself. What do I want? What am I here for? What am I doing? I keep talking about being this great father, and here I am showing my kid that they don't have to, they can just do the bare minimum and skate by. I'm showing her, don't do better, right? Just do a little bit. It's fine. A little bit's great. right? And I remember at like, it probably took me a day or two. And again, this is why I tell people to go to the sunken place or places like the cave. You got to make this decision by your goddamn self. You are the star player on your fucking team, and you need to make this choice. The choice is very simple. I said, I will not be pitying to myself anymore. I will not look at myself like I can't do. I will not let them tell me what I'm capable of. I'm going to change that. So I went in the next day. They went to run their assessment. You'll never have feeling in your hand ever again, sir. You'll never be able to feel your 3 fingers. Your life is basically ruined from that side. You might as well amputate it. This is the type of stuff they're saying to me. I said, I heard what the fuck you said. Let's get to work, right? And they're just like confused. And I'm in there going at it. I don't care what they ask me to do, whatever it is. Eventually, they're like, sir, you're going to tear up our equipment going this hard. And I said, well, I guess I need another program, huh? And they were just like, okay. They sent me somewhere else. And then as soon as they sent me somewhere else, see, and again, there's significance to this, so I'm gonna go back. As soon as they sent me somewhere else, all the dude did was he was like, wait, you used to do all this? You were a construction worker and all this other stuff, and they had you holding a ball? Doesn't make any sense. Why don't you just work out? And I wish I knew where that young man was, because I would hug him, hug him, because I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea that it could be solved that simple, right? And for me, if I had known that it was that simple, I might have tried harder in other ways. So I've never met this young man again. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what's going on with him, but he changed my life.